In the chaos of war, millions fight, thousands charge, hundreds command. But sometimes history bends. Because of one man, one rifle, one breath, one trigger pull. No battle line moves. No artillery fires. No generals shout orders. And yet, an entire battlefield changes forever. This is not the story of armies. It is the story of individual Americans whose patience, precision, and silence reshaped modern warfare. They were hunters in a world of soldiers, observers in storms of steel, ghosts who struck once and vanished. They were American snipers. And long before Hollywood myths and modern legends, these men rewrote battlefield history, one shot at a time. Before the word sniper carried fear, before it meant elite training, specialized rifles, and battlefield mythology, there was simply the marksman. In the 18th century, European warfare was rigid and formal. Men stood in lines. Officers wore bright colors. Battles were decided by mass volleys and discipline. Accuracy was secondary. Speed and numbers ruled. But in the forests of colonial America, war was different. Dense trees, uneven ground, ambush instead of formation. Here, accuracy meant survival. American frontiersmen hunted for food, not sport. They learned to fire once and never miss. Powder was precious. Game was scarce. A missed shot could mean starvation. When war came, these skills followed. The British Army arrived in North America, confident and professional. They also arrived unprepared. British officers wore red coats and rode horses. They believed rank should be visible. Honor demanded it. American colonists thought differently. At Lexington and Concord, British officers fell first. Not by accident, but by choice. Colonial riflemen aimed deliberately at leaders. There were no rules forbidding it, only tradition. And traditions die quickly in war. British muskets were smoothbore weapons. Effective range, about 100 yards if lucky. American long rifles were rifled. Effective range, 300 yards or more. This wasn't just a technological gap. It was a philosophical one. The British fired volleys. Americans fired individual shots. Each pull of the trigger was intentional. In 1777, during the Battle of Saratoga, a man named Timothy Murphy climbed a tree. British General Simon Fraser was directing troops below. Murphy took careful aim. One shot. Miss. A second shot. Miss. The third shot struck Fraser in the abdomen. Fraser died hours later. Without leadership, British forces faltered. Saratoga became the turning point of the war. For the first time in modern history, a single marksman had directly altered the outcome of a major campaign. The idea was born. One man could change everything. Nearly a century later, America fought itself. The Civil War introduced industrialized slaughter. Railroads, telegraphs, mass armies. But it also refined the sniper. Colonel Hiram Burton formed 2 elite Union regiments in 1861. To qualify, a soldier had to hit 10 shots inside a 5-inch circle from 200 yards, using an unsupported position. This was unheard of. They wore green uniforms instead of blue, early camouflage. They used Sharps rifles, faster, more accurate, deadlier. They targeted artillery crews, officers, enemy sharpshooters. Confederate soldiers quickly learned a new fear. If you stood too long, you died. For the first time, killing specific individuals became doctrine. Snipers were no longer accidents of war. They were assigned. They were planned. and they were effective. But after the Civil War, something strange happened. America forgot them. When World War I began, the United States had no sniper program. European armies already understood the threat. Germany trained dedicated snipers. Britain learned through painful losses. America entered late and unprepared. The Western Front was a nightmare. Mud, barbed wire, rats, endless artillery. Movement meant death. Snipers ruled the no-man's land between trenches. German snipers used steel sniper plates, periscopes, decoys. American soldiers were shot simply for looking over the trench. The U.S. Army rushed to train marksmen. They studied captured rifles. They practiced camouflage. They learned patience. By 1918, American snipers were fighting back. But the war ended before doctrine fully matured. Once again, the sniper faded into obscurity. Between World War I and World War II, military planners focused on tanks, aircraft, mechanized infantry. Snipers were considered inefficient. Why train one man when you could drop a bomb? The answer would come soon, written in blood across Europe and the Pacific. By 1941, America stood on the edge of its largest war. Factories roared. Men enlisted by the millions. Generals prepared for total combat. But hidden among the infantry were men whose war would be fought alone. They would crawl instead of charge, wait instead of advance, and kill with terrifying precision. World War II would not just resurrect the American sniper. It would forge legends. And for the first time, the battlefield would begin to fear the sound of a single shot. The war that America entered in 1941 was loud. Bombers droned overhead. Artillery shook the earth. Machine guns tore the air apart. But beneath that noise, another war unfolded. Quiet, patient, unseen. In ruined cities, frozen forests, and steaming jungles, American snipers learned that silence itself could be lethal. World War II would transform the sniper from an afterthought into a battlefield necessity. When American troops first faced German forces in North Africa and Europe, something became immediately clear. They were being watched. German snipers were disciplined, trained, and ruthless. They used camouflaged hides, scoped rifles, decoys, and false helmets, traps designed to draw medics and officers into view. American soldiers were shot while lighting cigarettes, while raising binoculars, while stepping into doorways for half a second. The battlefield was no longer only horizontal. It was three-dimensional. Germany had studied sniping since World War I. They trained soldiers to fire once, then relocate, target leadership, control terrain psychologically, not just physically. The goal wasn't body count. The goal was fear. American commanders quickly understood. If we don't build our own snipers, we'll bleed for every yard. The U.S. Army had to improvise. There was no centralized sniper school at the start of the war. Training was inconsistent and rushed. Most American snipers were exceptional riflemen pulled from infantry units, hunters from rural America, men who already understood patience. They trained in England, Camp Perry, Ohio, forward area field schools. They learned camouflage using burlap and netting, range estimation without instruments, how to stay motionless for hours. Mistakes were paid for immediately. The standard American sniper weapon became the M1903 Springfield, fitted with scopes like the M73 or untold. It wasn't perfect. Scopes fogged. Mounts loosened. Weather destroyed precision. But in skilled hands, it was deadly. After D-Day, the hedgerows of France turned the battlefield into a sniper's paradise and nightmare. Visibility was limited. Movement was slow. Every gap could hide a rifle. German snipers used church towers, barns, and trees. American snipers hunted them down. This was no longer about long-distance kills. It was cat-and-mouse warfare at brutal proximity. Many engagements ended with two snipers waiting for hours. The first to blink died. American snipers learned to use mirrors and periscopes, fake movement with helmets on sticks, watch birds. If birds avoided an area, someone was there. Each duel removed not just an enemy rifle, but restored morale. Infantry moved again once the unseen threat was gone. If Europe was precision, the Pacific was survival. Jungles swallowed sound. Humidity ruined equipment. Visibility collapsed to yards. Japanese snipers were masters of concealment. They hid in trees, in caves, sometimes for days. American snipers had to adapt or die. On Guadalcanal, American Marines faced an enemy who refused to surrender. Japanese snipers often waited silently while entire units passed, then shot the last man. The psychological impact was devastating. American snipers responded by clearing trees methodically, using shotgun support, learning jungle stillness. There were no long shots. Kills were intimate. Volcanic rock replaced jungle. Every cave became a firing port. Snipers worked alongside flamethrower teams. They didn't just kill. They protected. A sniper covering an advance could save dozens of Marines. Snipers lived alone. They crawled. They waited. They watched men through scopes for hours before killing them. Many never spoke about it afterward. Unlike infantry, there was no chaos to hide behind. Every kill was deliberate. World War II produced skilled snipers, but it also left scars no parade could erase. By 1945, the American sniper had proven his worth. But peace came quickly. Units disbanded. Training dissolved. Lessons were filed away. Once again, America stood ready to forget. But war was changing. And soon the sniper would return. Not as a support role, but as a strategic weapon. The guns of World War II fell silent. But the world did not become safer. Borders hardened. Ideologies collided. And wars began to appear small. Until you looked closely. In these new conflicts, firepower mattered less than control. And once again, the American sniper returned from obscurity. This time, he would not just influence battles. He would shape reputation, fear, and myth. Korea was not Europe. It was not the Pacific. It was a frozen, mountainous killing ground. Temperatures dropped below -40. Rifles froze. Scopes cracked. Breath revealed positions. The U.S. Army entered the Korean War in 1950 with almost no sniper doctrine. They would relearn it the hard way. Communist forces used snipers aggressively. They targeted officers, machine gun crews, radio men. They fired once, then disappeared into ridgelines. American infantry suffered. Once again, commanders demanded precision fighters. While the name Carlos Hathcock would later define Vietnam, the foundations of modern Marine Corps sniping were laid in Korea. The Marines formalized sniper schools, developed cold-weather marksmanship techniques, understood that a sniper's job was not kills, but control of terrain. A sniper on a ridge could shut down entire valleys. Shots carried farther in cold air. Wind was unpredictable. Targets appeared for seconds. A good sniper might fire only once a day, but that single shot could stop an entire assault. By 1953, American snipers were no longer improvising. They were professionals. Vietnam changed everything. This war had no front lines, no clear enemy, no visible victories. And that made it perfect for snipers. The jungle distorted sound. Movement was slow. Visibility collapsed. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese snipers used tunnels, fired from trees, targeted medics first. American patrols began to freeze under unseen fire. Fear spread faster than bullets. No American sniper shaped battlefield mythology like Carlos Norman Hathcock II. He didn't just kill enemies. He changed how snipers were used. Hathcock wore a white feather in his hat, not as camouflage, as a challenge. Enemy snipers actively hunted him. He welcomed it. Hathcock's confirmed kills officially numbered 93. Unofficially, many more. But numbers were irrelevant. His impact was psychological. One enemy sniper stalked Hathcock for days. When Hathcock finally spotted him, there was no time to adjust. He fired instantly. The bullet traveled directly through the enemy sniper's scope and into his eye. A shot considered nearly impossible. But it happened, and it became legend. Hathcock once crawled over 1,500 yards for 3 days to assassinate a North Vietnamese general. He moved inches at a time. Snakes crawled over him. Ants bit him. Enemy patrols passed within feet. He fired one shot, then crawled back. The mission was successful. Vietnam proved something commanders could no longer ignore. Snipers controlled behavior. One sniper could shut down roads, freeze patrols, force enemies underground. The enemy stopped moving in daylight. Fear became tactical. Snipers returned home quietly. There were no medals for most missions. No public recognition. Many carried nightmares, guilt, silence. Being precise meant remembering faces. And remembering never fades. By the time Vietnam ended, the American sniper was no longer forgotten. He was feared. He was studied. And he was about to enter a new era. One shaped by technology, global conflict, and constant war. The sniper would no longer operate alone in the shadows. He would become a cornerstone of modern combat doctrine. When the Cold War ended, many believed large-scale conflict was finished. It was. War didn't disappear. It fragmented. And in fragmented wars, cities, deserts, villages, rooftops, the sniper became more valuable than ever. This was no longer about distance alone. It was about information, restraint, and precision. The 1991 Gulf War was fast. Overwhelming air power destroyed Iraqi forces in weeks. But on the ground, snipers quietly proved their worth. The desert had no cover. Heat distorted vision. Mirage warped distance. Winds shifted unpredictably. Snipers learned to read mirage instead of foliage, calculate extreme wind drift, operate with near-total exposure. Long-range engagements became common. This war pushed the need for better optics, laser rangefinders, advanced ballistics training. Anti-materiel rifles like the Barrett M82 appeared. Snipers were no longer limited to personnel. They destroyed radar equipment, vehicles, communication gear. One man could cripple an enemy position. The sniper was now a strategic asset. After 2003, Iraq transformed sniping forever. Cities replaced forests. Rooftops replaced ridgelines. Civilians surrounded combatants. A single mistake meant civilian casualties, or worse. Snipers operated from minarets, apartment buildings, construction sites. They tracked insurgent leaders, bomb emplacers, spotters. Rules of engagement were strict. Snipers became decision makers. One pull of the trigger could prevent an IED attack, stop a riot, save a convoy, or cause irreversible consequences. Insurgents adapted quickly. They used decoys, spotters with cell phones, complex ambushes. Sniper teams worked in pairs. Shooter, spotter, sometimes with Overwatch snipers covering snipers. The battlefield layered itself. Afghanistan returned sniping to extremes. Mountains stretched engagements beyond 1,000 meters. Thin air affected ballistics. Wind flowed unpredictably through valleys. American snipers began pushing distances once thought impossible. Shots beyond 1 mile were attempted. Every successful long-range hit was calculated, patient, rare. Distance mattered less than effect. Stopping one fighter in the right place could end a firefight. In Afghanistan, snipers often fired to protect, not to kill. They covered patrols, watched chokepoints, observed villages for days. Often, the best mission ended without firing a single shot. Modern snipers carried cameras, radios, legal oversight. Every shot was reviewed. There was no anonymity. This forced a new discipline: emotional control, ethical clarity, absolute certainty. Snipers became guardians of restraint. The modern sniper was no longer alone. He was part of intelligence networks, drone surveillance, command oversight. Information flowed constantly, but the final decision still rested on one man. Breath, trigger, history. By the 2010s, American snipers had become symbols. Feared by enemies, admired by allies, misunderstood by the public. Their role was no longer just tactical. It was cultural. And the final chapter would ask the hardest question of all. What does it cost to rewrite battlefield history in silence? War never ends with the last shot. It lingers. In memory, in doctrine, in the quiet spaces between history and myth. The American sniper did not just survive modern warfare. He reshaped how war itself is fought and remembered. By the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the sniper had become more than a soldier. He was a symbol of restraint in chaos, proof that precision could replace destruction, a reminder that one human decision still mattered in mechanized war. Movies, books, and media elevated the sniper into legend. But legends simplify. Reality never does. Popular culture paints the sniper as solitary and detached. In truth, snipers operate as teams. Shooter, spotter, intelligence support, command oversight. Every shot exists inside a chain of responsibility. There is no freedom, only accountability. The true contribution of American snipers is not kill counts. It is control. Snipers reduce collateral damage, prevent mass engagements, shape enemy movement without constant combat. In modern doctrine, one sniper team can replace artillery barrages, air strikes, large infantry assaults. This saves lives on all sides. Most snipers never become known. They return home quietly. They don't talk about the faces they watched, the decisions they made, the moments they cannot undo. Precision carries weight. Remembering every shot is heavier than forgetting. Many snipers struggle with isolation, memory, moral injury. Their war does not end. It simply becomes quiet. Technology is changing the battlefield again. Drones observe. Sensors track. Artificial intelligence predicts. And yet, the final decision still belongs to a human. No algorithm can read intention and posture, measure hesitation, judge a moment that lasts half a second. The sniper remains irreplaceable. Future snipers will integrate with AI systems, control unmanned platforms, operate across digital and physical battlefields. But the core skill will remain unchanged. Patience, discipline, judgment. History often remembers generals, battles, victories. It rarely remembers the man who stopped an attack with one shot, the sniper who saved a platoon without being seen, the decision not to fire. Yet those moments matter. They always have. From colonial forests to frozen Korean ridges, to jungle shadows, to desert cities, to mountain valleys, American snipers did not conquer battlefields. They redefined them. They proved that war could be influenced without mass destruction. That one disciplined human being could matter more than firepower. They rewrote battlefield history, not with noise, but with silence.